Thank you. You got it. There it is. Never mind. I was going to ask where the clicker was, but I got it.
Make sure it's on.
I know.
Yes.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay. How was lunch? Was it good? Did you eat tons of carbs so you go to sleep on my lecture? You better not. I will come off this stage, cane or no cane, and I'll wake you up in front of everybody. You know, my family's from West Texas, and we grew up in West Texas and farmed and ranched forever, and I talked too much, so they sent me to school. You know, that's not really true, but kind of true. And my grandma's church that I remember going to, the pastor was really big on if you fell asleep and during the service, he would come off the stage and like stand over you and preach in front of you until you woke up or someone woke you up. It's pretty awesome. So I've employed that a few times traveling on the road, JD, and it's really hilarious. Like I'll go stand over the top of this dude, and it's funny. Tomorrow I will explain why that happens to you. I'll explain why we're sitting here and you're like, gosh, I had a really good night's sleep and I had like 4 coffees this morning even though Sarah told me not to, and I'm asleep in 30 minutes into the information. There's a reason. That shouldn't happen. That's not normal. But I'm going to explain why tomorrow, but not today. You got to come back then. All right, so we're going to talk about winter wellness a little bit, and I'm going to explain what things tank your immunity. I'm going to explain how immunity works. I'm going to explain how symptoms work in the body, and then some things to really support immunity in your system through YL. Now, here's one of the things that you got to understand to make sure that you keep yourself really compliant and really FDA compliant. Is you can talk about the things that are helping your systems and immunity all day long, as long as I'm not going, man, that product right there is fantastic for that thing. As long as you're not doing that, I mean, we're literally just helping the body do what it's created to do, and then it can handle whatever you come in contact with. Because like we said earlier, you were created perfectly. Like to operate perfect, 24/7, 365. So I'm going to show you how symptoms happen in the body, and it literally is just a product of you being in an environment that has created stress on you somehow. Like there's some type of stress that started that's totally throwing you off. Okay? All right. So what's the deal with winter? Well, there's a lot of different things with winter, and there's a lot of different things in the whole season of starting in around October, where people get so much more stress on their immune system than normal. Now, we're teaching on this in Florida, where it's sunny outside, even if it's in the 70s, and we can walk to the beach. So I don't know that this really applies to the entire country. And, you know, in Texas, we're walking around in shorts on Christmas Day. So it's not exactly the same thing, but it still applies, right? You know, one of the biggest things that happens this time of the year is your exposure to sunlight goes down. Your exposure to sunlight because, A, the sun's not out as long, right? B, you're not outside as much because, you know, I was talking to somebody when we were walking in, and she's like, oh, man, like, it's just so cold out here right now. And I'm like, well, but it's like in the 70s. It's freaking awesome. Like, I would wish I was in shorts and a t-shirt. But, like, people are less apt to get outside if it's not as comfortable and you just aren't in the sun as much. Vitamin D is huge for immunity. And vitamin D is something that you passively get all the time when you're in the sun that helps with immunity, helps you absorb calcium, helps to balance out the acid in your stomach, helps to regulate the hormones and the hormone production, and on and on and on. And so vitamin D is very, very vital. Vitamin D is also really important for regulating your thyroid gland. If your vitamin D levels are really low, your thyroid can't function 100%. You can't convert, exactly, that's exactly what I think, see? Can't convert the thyroid hormone so that it actually makes changes in the body, which can affect metabolism and affect your body core temperature and all kinds of things, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is you're getting exposed to so many more things in the fall because this is the time of year when kids go back to school. Like you've been in summer mode for months, all of a sudden they go back to school, tons of kids are getting revaccinated, they're getting all of these live virus vaccines, and then they go into the fall year and the kids start getting all this nastiness, they start sharing because you taught them to share for some reason, and they're passing them around, and then in the middle of all that, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, yeah, it's perfect, right? Like it's the most perfect marketing ploy ever, and I would have completely created that back in the day if I was selling medication. Wait, that's probably not what happened. I don't know. But look, in the middle of the fall, when you're not getting enough immune boost from your normal environment anyway, you go into a season where you eat more sugar than at any other time of the year combined in like a 2.5 month time period, right? You know, we've got the bluffing on our kids so far in that, you know, for Halloween, they love trick-or-treating, but then we buy their candy off of them, so they negotiate. Like, so they're like, all right, like they count up all their pieces, and I'm like, all right, I'll give you $5 for the whole bag, you know, because we're just going to trash it or donate it anyway. And they're like, well, how about, and then, Harper and Ellie will negotiate with us on what they want. Or they can either, A, take the money and we'll take them to Target or wherever and they can get a toy or something they were looking at. Or they can pick one piece of candy out of the entire bag and they can eat that. 9 times out of 10, they're like, I'd rather go to Target and get something awesome. I'm like, great idea. That's a good option. But, there's a couple years in there where they were like, no, I really want that one sucker out of the entire bag instead of getting that awesome toy from Target. And great. And then we've, let them have the one thing and regulate. Because let's be real, you're never going to keep your kids away from all the sugar. That's not realistic and dangerous at best, because then they're going to really want it later. But educating them on what it does and why they need to balance their food out and why it's not good for their system is important, because I totally feel like if the kids understand why, they have a lot easier time following it, even if they still want some of the junk. Like we said, it's created to fire their brain in a way that creates this addiction in them and this craving, because it calms their brain down for that split second because they get such a jolt from it, just like a drug. All right, so let's talk about the way that symptoms work in the body. All right, so this is how the body works, and this is what happens in the body every single day, every single second, every single minute. Picture this triangle like a grocery bag from the grocery store. You guys have Publix down here? So let's say that we went to Publix and we were going to go get our groceries. Let's say that this is a Publix grocery bag. Okay, everybody's bag is different in the symptoms that their body is going to create based on the environment or the stressors that they're in. But there's only 2 things that are going to cause anything to go wrong in the body ever. 2 things. There's only 2 things that will make the body not work right and will start to create a symptom that if symptoms are there long enough, they will get a name because someone will name it, and then it becomes a diagnosis. And diagnosis is for one purpose only. What is a diagnosis for? To bill you and to treat you. They can't treat you legally without a diagnosis. This is a medical thing that's set up. They can't say, hey, we're going to do this treatment. I could never adjust your elbow if I didn't have a diagnosis for, lateral epicondylitis or whatever I was going to call it. So a diagnosis has to be attached. So when people get upset that they got a diagnosis, I'm like, but you went to the doctor for that thing. They're like, yeah. But he has to diagnose you in order to treat you or do anything, even if he really feels like he's helping. Even if he's doing the best job he can, he has to give you a diagnosis based on the symptoms you have. So the only 2 things that will ever cause the body to not work right are toxicity and deficiency. That's it. Wow. Too much bad, too little good. That's it. Now, out of those 2 things, now your job as the keeper of your body is to figure out where either that toxicity or deficiency is, okay? Now, stress is a thing that causes changes in the body because stressors are what force our body to adapt, like in our environment, right? Now, there's 3 different types of stress. So you've got physical stressors, like, we'll go through each one, like working out or not working out or whatever, something done to the physical body. There's chemical stressors. Chemical stressors being anything that you take in, anything that you breathe, put on your skin, you eat, like your diet, that would be chemical stressors. And these can either be good or bad. And then the third one over here, like the weird uncle at the holidays you don't want to talk about, are the emotional stressors, right? So in each of these categories, again, the only 2 things that are going to cause the body to change in a bad way are toxicity or deficiency, okay? Toxicity or deficiency. So if you look at toxicity or deficiency in each of these categories, you look at the physical stressors first up top. A toxic stressor in the physical category would be like snapping your leg in a surfing machine. That's a bad stressor. Don't do that. I don't recommend it. So people ask me, what happened? Part of the people, here obviously don't know who I am, which is awesome. Love it. Nice to meet you. They're like, dude, he's really weird. Didn't know he was this weird, but it's the first time I met him. It was awesome. So I went to Florida last year, and I was traveling and teaching a lot, and my left ankle started swelling up a lot. I'd done everything on my ankle. I MRI'd my ankle. I checked everything, and there was nothing wrong with my ankle. And it was swelling, but I never had pain anywhere but my ankle, my left ankle. So fast forward almost a year, and we were in Florida about to teach at the Infuse conference, Monique McLean's big conference that she hosts every other year or so. And she was going to have it in Orlando because she's a Disney freak. And so we were there at the Gaylord in Orlando. We were making a tour through Florida because, again, Florida's our happy place. So we had literally taught a conference in Destin. We had stayed 3 days in Seaside. We came down to Orlando. We had been there for a couple of days, and my oldest, Harper, wanted to go surf in the flow rider, the constant wave pool thing. And so I had done that in the past. I was like, sure, let's go do it. That's awesome. I mean, had not done anything like that in a while, and Harper was like so excited about it. So we went and signed all the 12 pages of waivers, to like get in the thing. Should have been my first clue. He gets on there and looks amazing, like Surfer Kid, straight up, straight out of the movies. Well, the way they had it set up is the 19-year-old kid that was running the thing, with perfect hair and, like abs of steel. The current's going this way, and the way they had it is you take your boogie board and you walk into the current this way. You go into it, right? And you take 2 or 3 steps in, and then you hop on your boogie board and you ride it, and you look like an all-star. That's what you're supposed to do. Well, I take 3 steps in. Literally, I'm like, neek. And the bottom of these things, if you've ever got onto them, it's like a cement base with like 3 inches of like rubbery padding, mushy, with a current that's probably 6 inches deep, rushing like massive current, like the other thing, with an unstable ankle. Real smart. So I take 3 steps into this thing, and I got 3 steps in, and my brain literally was like, no. Like, I mean, I got to this one part, my brain was like, no, we're not doing this. Like, in the minute that I said no, and I went to just like fall back on my rear to not do it, I was like, I'm not going to do this. The minute I said no, the water washed my left ankle underneath. It buckled my ankle. So I like sprayed my ankle this way, washed my ankle this way, and I fell straight down with my leg out. And what I didn't know was that I had a benign tumor in the side of my femur, which was why my ankle had been hurting for over a year. And this tumor had eaten out 5 by 3 centimeters in my leg, and it was hollow. So when I fell, pow, it shattered my femur like a hollow egg. So it washes me off to the side, and so here's one thing, like out of this, like I'm going to tell you this, but the reason I'm going to tell you this is because I want you to know that when you open that box, that premium starter kit box, there's like 3 things that you get out of that box. 1, you get amazing oils and they do all this awesome stuff, and they're unicorn magic, and it's great. The second thing is like you get like a whole new level of learning and an opportunity to change your family's health, and it's awesome. But the thing that you get that you don't know out of that kit is a community that is ridiculous. So this thing, I fall. I thought I tore just tore the ligaments, but I shattered, like broke off half my knee, and it shoved all the shards up in my femur. And we're there. I mean, like everybody's rolling in. There's like 4,000 people at this conference. So it washes me over to the side. I didn't even get on the boogie board. Harper tells the story like this. He goes, yeah, we were going to surf, and I surfed. It was awesome. Dad didn't even make it on the board, and he like fell. And I was like, but shut up, man. I go, tell him the truth. Tell him I was like freaking awesome. And when I went to do the second flip, I caught my leg. He's like, but that ain't what happened. I'm like, stop being so green. So he didn't give me any love. But it's true. I didn't even get to do a half nothing on there. I was literally like shattered my leg, and it washed me off to the side. I straightened my leg, pushed it back straight, and the kid goes, hey man, are you okay? It's like, no, I'm not. And so I had him pick me up and set me on this ledge. There was like this cement ledge on the side. So immediately, 4 diamonds that are friends of mine walk to the fence because they see me, because there's probably a dozen diamonds and their families out there swimming. And there's people from all over the country that I've lectured for and talked to, and friends of ours, our team. So one diamond comes up and she goes, I'm going to go get, your daughter. So she runs to get Ellie. The other diamond, I said, hey, go get me a lemonade from the bar so I don't pass out, because I needed my sugar to go up. I was like, I need you to get me a large lemonade right now, because when this hits, I was like, it's not hurting yet, but I'm like, when this hits, I'm going to pass out, and that can't happen. So go get me a lemonade right now. This other one, I said, go grab my mother-in-law. She's over in the other building. And I said, I need you to get her to get the 2 babies and make sure they're okay. Like, Harper, get my shirt, get my phone. I'm like, we're going to the ER. So then security comes and bring the wheelchair, and the guy's like, hey, man, you want to stand on it? You want to try it? When in doubt, just don't do anything anybody says. Just, like, don't touch it. So luckily, I know what I know. And I was like, no, I don't need to put weight on it to know that it's jacked up. I don't need to do that. But we went to the hospital and had some testing and stuff. Well, I sat there for 6 hours holding my leg before they finally did a CT scan. And when we did a CT scan, the guy that was running the CT was this awesome guy. He's ex-military. He was in the Army. Super awesome guy. Super by the book. And he puts me in this tube. And I'll never forget, I'm like, this is the first bed I'd laid on. I'd been in there for 6 hours in a wheelchair holding my leg up like this. And because they just thought that I'd like torn my ligaments. So he puts me in this tube, does the scan. And this all plays into this, so don't think I'm like way veering off. I'll bring it back around. Trust me, I'll land the plane. Just hold on. So he comes running back in. He's like, don't move. And I'm like, what's up, man? Like, thinking there's a bomb in there or something. Like, I'm like, dude, he's PTSD, and what do I do? It's like, valor, you know? I didn't say that. Erase that part. Christy's going to pull me off stage. And I go, what happened? He goes, I'm not your doctor. I can't tell you, but don't move. I'm like, okay. I'm like, how bad is it? He goes, let's just say if you put any weight on it, then it will be way worse, and we're going to be having a real emergent problem. And I'm like, okay. So the doc comes in, or the nurse practitioner that was running the thing, and she's like, hey, you broke your femur, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, that's crazy. I thought it would hurt worse, honestly, because it was hollow, which is why it didn't hurt as much as it should have. That started later, the pain. But when it broke, there was nothing in the middle of it. It just like shattered that whole bone. So here in a minute, she comes back in, and it's me, 2 diamond buddies of mine, and my wife, and she has Witten, our youngest, with her. And we're sitting there, and they're hanging out with me, and we're talking, and I'm laying there in this bed, and nothing. I'd had 400 milligrams of ibuprofen in like 9 hours or something. That was it. So she comes in, and she peeks her head in like this, and she goes, hey. She goes, by the way, you don't have a history of cancer, do you? Like, this is the first I've ever seen her. Just like this. You don't have a history of cancer, do you? And I go, no. She goes, oh, okay. And shut the door. And I go, hell no. I go get her. That's exactly what I said. Maybe a few more things. But I was like, hell no. That's what I was saying in Texas. Hell no. Go get her. So we went and grabbed her and brought her back in. And I go, what is that? I said, are you checking boxes or did you see something? And she's like, all of a sudden I'm in a realm she has no idea about. She doesn't know about cancer or anything. And she goes, yeah, there's a lytic lesion on your x-ray, which means one of 2 things. I either have something eating my bone, which is bad, which means it's life-threatening and I'm possibly heading straight for whatever, or it's a giant cell tumor that had moved out the inside of the bone and I'm going to lose my knee and possibly part of my leg, but I'm going to live. And luckily, again, the things that the Lord preps you for and that He brings you through at the beginning so that later on you can use them, it's why like everything is valuable. Like everything, every experience is valuable because you never know why the thing that happened at 12 happened until you're 58, and then that experience you had at 12 comes back for you to be able to either take care of your own family or bless somebody else in the meantime. So it's just gathering it all. So she walks in and I'm like, I've taught oncology and radiology for years and board reviews for chiropractic colleges. I teach this. This is one of my things I did in practice before traveling and teaching for all of you awesome people. So I said, read me the report. And she's like, what? I go, just read the report. So she reads the report, and I'm like, it's a giant cell tumor. I'm like, I'll have a knee replacement, but I'm going to live, right? Well, Cindy, you got to remember, we had lost a child 2 years before, and they'd come in, and it was like this type of same scenario. She's in the hospital, emergency delivery. They come in, say ridiculous things like this, and then it doesn't turn out so good. And so she literally, and we're going to talk about emotion tomorrow, and we're going to talk about this emotional stressor in a minute. She literally reverts back. And I go, it's a giant cell tumor, I'm going to live. And she goes, shut up. And she walked out. Because she goes, there's no way. And like, you're laying there with a shattered femur and you're diagnosing yourself? I'm like, yeah, I am. Because I'm always right, remember? Where's she at? Like I said, I try. Yeah, she didn't believe me. I'll tell you. I'm like, if you would just understand that I'm right, it would just make it so much easier. Which is probably one of the reasons we're having problems with our 9-year-old. But anyways, so she walks out, hands my baby to my buddy Daryl, who holds Witten, puts him to sleep. My 2 friends, the other friend of mine, Les Wright, Crown Diamond, one of my best friends, he's from Alabama. Yay. And he goes, hold on.
Yeah.
Are we talking cancer here? He's like, what are we talking? And I was like, so we started this whole journey. Well, then another buddy of mine flew down from Kansas. Another Crown Diamond friend of mine flew from Kansas, rented a car, and carted me back to Dallas.
Yeah.
Because the community, the oils are awesome. They're really great. They're not nearly as awesome as the people.
Family's amazing.
Right? So back to this, and I'm going to tie it into all these things. You can break your femur. Okay? That's a toxic physical stressor. You can be stuck in a wheelchair for 7 months like I was and get lack of movement, and that's a stressor in the deficiency department, right? Like not moving is as bad as getting hurt. It's just different and it's slower. Like movement is a nutrient that is necessary. Like you moving is necessary for your physical structure, for your brain, for your circulation, for everything. So if you're not moving, you can't be healthy, period. It's just the way that you're designed. Down here in the chemical category, toxicity would be like medication, like the pain meds I had to be on for 6-8 weeks, or Febreze, or the stuff they clean the hotel rooms with here, or whatever, right? Like all those things. That's the toxic stressors in this category. The deficiency in the chemicals, like not drinking enough water, not getting enough vitamin D, not getting enough calcium, not getting enough omega-3 fatty acids, things that are necessary for function. You see what I'm saying? That'll create stressors. You're going to create symptoms, and you're going to start stuff in the body. On the emotional category over here, toxic emotions would be like fear, shame, and guilt, or someone telling you you're not worth anything, someone telling you that you can't do stuff, or speaking down to you or being negative around you. That would be a toxic emotional stressor. Deficiency, a lack of support on that side would be an actual example of a deficiency in the emotional category, not being told that you're worthy of something, or someone not speaking your love language, or something of that in that category. All of those things together, depending on you and your environment, make up what your body creates as symptoms. Now, the thing is, everybody's triangles shape differently. Okay? So, some people, like my triangle is like a really high, peaked up here in the physical this whole last year. Right? Like I had crazy high physical stressors in the toxicity and deficiency category that I've had to work on the whole time, which is why I'm in therapy 4 days a week, right? Still. So that's what I work on there. Did I have emotional stressors? Yeah. Like shatter your femur, you like reality is totally different, and you're not so oh, everything's fine, after you do that. Like going to the playground, the most terrifying thing for me ever. I've never been a non-confident person or an anxious person. I've never had that experience or been in that mode until after I shattered my femur. After that, the most terrifying experience for me ever was taking my kids to the playground. Because I'm like, if you have anxiety and you go to the playground with your children, with 40 other kids and adults and cars driving by and they're hanging from the top thing, all you see is broken necks, broken arms, broken legs, ER visits, danger, 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 like the whole time, right? Like your brain's just freaking out. And I was like freaking. So I got a whole new experience with the oils that I never had before. On the chemical side, some of you guys, like you don't have a ton of physical issues, or you're like really healthy, you move a lot, you don't have a lot of injuries, but you use toxic cologne or perfume, or you shower with toxic products, and you got tons of chemical exposure, like Sarah was talking about. Maybe that's you. Maybe it's neither of those, and maybe you look like you're super fit and you look amazing. You eat organic all day long and you make your own kale chips and your own bone broth, but you're so depressed and you have so many emotional stressors and you're in an abusive relationship and you can hardly function because you have the same symptoms of everybody else and you do everything right. So the point of the whole thing is you've got to look at all three little points and figure out what part of those you need to work on for you. And most of the time you can't work on all three at the same time. So like right now, I'm like really focusing hard on the physical, right? Like the chemical, I do good on 80% of the time, but I really work on the physical. Like there's not a point in the day that you won't see me like working on scar tissue or doing something to the leg or applying oils or, working on a muscle or doing exercises or whatever it is I got to do, right? And there's different seasons. So all of the different stressors accumulate for each person, and whatever your genetic makeup is and wherever your environment is, whatever your makeup is, will create symptoms. That's why, I can be in a room, let's say with Drew, and we're doing the same things, and we go through the same, let's say we go through some like super physical like workout or whatever, and we have all the same stressors. Well, Drew may develop like totally different symptoms than I do, and we're in the exact same environment because his body makeup is completely different than mine is, right? And speaking of which, today's Drew's birthday. Oh! So stand up, Drew. We got to see you, man. I didn't really plan it for right there, but it really worked out well. All right, ready? Happy birthday to you. Ooh. Happy birthday to you. Ooh. Happy birthday, dear Drew. So good. Happy birthday to you. Whoa. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? You kind of see the pattern on this? So like the reason I love using this is what I've drawn for patients for 14 years. And in report of findings, I draw a triangle. And I circle the stuff, and I literally map where they're at. I'm like, most of your stressors are right here, and we're going to start here. Or most of your stressors are right here. And so you can do this yourself and go, you know what, man, majority of my stressors are I'm still drinking Febreze. I need to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably bad. Yeah, still eating those little pods and stuff. It's awful. You know? Do you understand what I'm saying? So like literally pick where you need to start and work from there. All right, here's a bunch of things that can decrease immunity. Sugar decreases immunity. You know, a teaspoon of sugar, there's all kinds of different stats. But basically, majority of the stats say a teaspoon of sugar will depress the immune system for up to an hour, hour and a half. And so you know how many like tablespoons of sugar you get out of one Dr. Pepper? Or one energy drink? A lot. Yeah, a lot. Okay? So the sugar intake is crazy. You can get on YouTube and type in sugar intake, American average sugar intake. And watch them, and they'll sit there and like pour sugar in a pile and show you how much the average American eats. It's like something like 200 or 300 pounds of sugar a year is the average, which means the scary part about that is you guys are the low end. And so that means there's another end where these people are eating 1,000, 1,500 pounds of sugar in a year, and then they can't figure out why they have type 2 diabetes or all these inflammation problems or whatever. Like they can't figure out, I don't know what's happening. Less sleep. And so if you're in a situation where you're not getting as much sleep, your immune system goes down. Your body repairs so much stuff at night, and it spends so much time rebuilding and boosting up your systems at night that if you're not getting enough sleep, that's going to affect it. So in the seasons when you need more immunity, go to sleep. Like, choose to go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, intentionally go, oh, you know what? Like, in this next week or this next month, we're going to be really busy. The kids are doing all this stuff. I'm going to choose to make sure that we go to bed earlier, and I'm going to miss out on some episodes of This Is Us or whatever I've got to do. I know. You're going to figure out who dies later, just like it's always on replay. Don't worry. You know what I mean? And so you just go to sleep. That way you're like preemptively giving yourself the extra boost you need, because here's the biggest thing. You guys have been taught to react to your body all the time instead of be proactive and work with it. Your entire life, you've been taught to go, oh, that hurts, put the thing on it. Oh my gosh, I've got a headache, do this. Oh my gosh, my eye, I got to do this thing. Instead of going, hey, I'm going to do all these things to help my body be better before any of that stuff comes up. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have symptoms. It doesn't mean that other stuff's not going to happen. You for sure will get symptoms eventually. Trust me. Broken femur, like I was doing everything right. Everything. Like, really right. And I shattered my femur. Crap happens. It's okay, but watch. Somebody walked up to me at convention. People say incredible things. This person walked up to me at convention, and they go, well, why didn't your oils work for that? I thought you were using oils all the time. Like, you're like the oils guy. And I sat there for a second. And you, right? Yes, exactly. That was what I was like on the inside, but that would have been insulting if I like that told me. I was like, oh my God. I wanted to. I was like, so I looked at him, and in my mind, this is what I have to do. I catch all the things that are insulting and snarky that I want to say. You know?
Good filter.
Yeah, I've worked on it. I'm married, you know. I've been married for a while. I have to like catch it. I'm like, and then I go, you know, what would have happened if I wasn't doing all of it? And that person like stood there and looked at me for a second, and then I was in a wheelchair then. I rolled off. I was like, peace out. Have a great weekend. I was like, that tumor might have been malignant. I don't know. Like, it may have been further up my leg. When I had the injury and I went back to Texas and the surgeon went in to figure out what we needed to do, we ended up being able to do an allograft procedure where he literally replaced half my knee with a cadaver bone, left my other half of my knee, and then plated and screwed it in so I didn't have to have a full knee replacement. It was pretty fantastic. And yeah, so amazing. Long recovery, but amazing. And he said, he goes, you know, if that tumor had moved up your leg another inch, we would have had to amputate your whole leg. And he was like, and it was moving like quickly because it was a 5x3. It was basically the size of a baseball squished into a tube inside my leg. So again, like so many times I hear people say, well, I did all this stuff and I've been like eating kale salad for like 4 years and I got sick. Yeah. It's okay. Like, you know, when people come to me and they go, I've never been sick in 15 years. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, and? Yeah, like, doesn't really mean anything. That actually doesn't necessarily tell me that your body's working better than anybody else's because you're not even exhibiting symptoms of the things you should. Because I know you still eat gluten, and I know you're still drinking dairy, and I know you're eating toxic crap, and you still don't get sick. That's not good. Your body should react to those things. That makes sense? So when you're doing it, it doesn't mean that those things aren't good for you. I mean, what would happen if you weren't watching your diet, you weren't moving enough? What if I wasn't working out? What if I hadn't been? Man, I was running and doing stuff, which you think back now, I'm like, I could have been doing anything and shattered my leg. I could have been going downstairs or whatever. But what if I hadn't been doing those things? What if I hadn't been doing all the different treatments I've gotten? Who knows, right? And so it's all about being proactive. Extreme weather, we talked about lack of sunshine. Now, in the lack of sunshine department, what's it called? SAD, seasonal affective disorder. Okay, so people in Florida don't know what this is. If you're a native Floridian, they're like, SAD? They're like, because the first time I went to, where was I at? I was in Ohio, and I was teaching there, and they were doing like Q&A stuff, and they're like, what would you suggest for people who have SAD? I go, get happy? Oh, no. I was like, and then I was like, oh, you're serious? And this nurse practitioner was there. She goes, yeah, seasonal affective disorder? And I was like, come on. I was like, they really named like the lack of sun seasonal affective disorder. She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. But it is a thing because some people react to the vitamin D more and they get a more extreme version. So like if you know that that's you, don't like get depressed when it hits. Get the UV lights. Like buy the lights, do the stuff, like recreate it. Do whatever you got to do to be able to help the body. Excess alcohol, because you're hanging around family over the holidays, so it's excess sugar, Make sure to share. And then, like we said, exposure to different things that your kids are coming in contact with, and you're hanging out with your family who don't necessarily eat kale chips all day long like you do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we took our kids to Christmas, and our cousins think it's funny. This is like a joke and like a competition with my cousins who are not healthy, who don't do any of this stuff, and they're probably watching this on the tagged on Facebook. It's fine. I love you all. You're fine, but, you're not healthy. And, they try to see who can get cookies or sweets to our kids before we consume them the fastest. Yeah, which is dumb, but we know that our kids are going to get exposed to stuff in our family's thing. And we can either get upset about it or just kind of prevent against it and support more and maintain a relationship. You know what I mean? I can either flip out or just expect it and then roll on, right? And that's kind of what we have to do in any situation. All right, so here's how we fix it. If the two things that are causing all the problems are toxicity and deficiency, how am I doing on time? Are we good? They're like, just don't stop talking. Like, oh, okay, we're good. I got time. So if we've got toxicity and deficiency are the two things that are creating all of the problems. In any category, it doesn't matter what it is. If someone's like, oh yeah, well I got this. I'm like, great, that's a deficiency in this. Well, I got this. Well, that's a toxicity in this. Do you understand? Like every single thing comes out of those two. Then to create and to fix the toxicity, you need to create purity in those areas. So getting rid of the toxic overload. Like, oh my gosh, like Sarah and I did not talk about what we were talking about before she walked up at all. Like we never even... haven't seen her slides. We didn't talk at all. This is totally how the Lord lines us out. I didn't know she was going to talk about toxicity and getting toxins out of your house because that's what almost every one of my PowerPoints has on it. That's why it's one of the first things I start with people on. They want something to fix the thing. They're like, hey, tell me the thing to do to like fix the thing. I'm like, why don't you get rid of all the toxins first? Because it's kind of like if you want to remodel your kitchen because your kitchen is outdated, but there's a fire in your house. Right. And the guys are like, they're putting on like hazmat suits and fireman gear to go work on your kitchen. Bring me the new cabinets. We got to nail them in. And there's fire everywhere. Would that be smart or not smart? Not smart. That doesn't make sense, right? All right. Well, that's what people do all day long. They're like, well, I don't want to put out the thing. Like, I don't want to like get rid of the negative attitude. I don't want to get rid of the Twix bars or whatever their thing is. I don't want to get rid of the Diet Cokes. That's my worst one. If people don't stop drinking Diet Cokes, I won't help them. Like when they call, they're like, hey, I want to do this. And they say, and in their dialogue, it says they drink Diet Cokes. I was like, first thing is you got to stop drinking those or I can't help you. And I won't do a consult for you. Because the artificial sweeteners literally are like melting your brain. And so it's not because I'm like mad at you or whatever. It's just because I know that anything I tell you is not going to work. And then you're going to turn around and go, well, it didn't work. Because you're literally melting your own brain with the toxicity. So that's the biggest one. But like they don't want to get rid of that stuff, but they want to like use frankincense oil to be better. I'm like, that's not how this works. You know what I mean? Like, well, it doesn't matter. I want to drink my Monster drinks. Just give me some more lavender. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, that does not make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. Okay. If you have deficiency, then you've got to add in sufficiency. Like, if you're dehydrated, and this seems like overly simplistic and almost insulting, like, drink water. But life is busy. Okay, like I'll be the first one to say I'm dehydrated half the week because I've got 4 kids at home. We're doing all this stuff. Like you get halfway through the day and you look at your bottle of water that you were supposed to measure and you drank like 10 ounces out of it. And you're like, dang it. You know, just drink water. Make sure you're getting your fish oil in. Make sure you're getting the things that you need. Breathe, rest, chill. You know what I mean? All the things that are necessary for you. Move, like walk to the car, like take the stairs, all those things, right? All those things are really important. Okay. Old Ben, he was the man, and he was ahead of his time. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You know, like, and it's talking about the whole point of, like, people are like, oh, well, it's fine, I'm doing great because they're not exhibiting any symptoms right now. I'm like, but you will. Eventually. Like, eventually you're going to exhibit symptoms, so I would rather put all my money on prevention. Diet and lifestyle tips. Watch your sugar intake. You don't have to take out all sugar, but just don't eat as much sugar, right? Like, especially around the time of the year that you know you're going to get exposed to more things. So if you know that there is a higher exposure risk, then there's different ways that you can kind of combat it. Well, drop the sugar intake a little bit. You know you're going to the family's Christmas, so kind of do that. Eat plenty of real food. Make sure that you're getting good food into your diet that have real enzymes in it. Make sure you're getting Tincture Red so that you're getting all of the antioxidants. Make sure you're taking your essential enzymes so you're breaking your food down and you're actually like using up. So if you're going to eat the pecan pie at Christmas because it's amazing, make sure you're taking your essential enzyme. You understand? Like support your system so it can break it down. Drink more water than usual so you can flush it out and try to get more intentional movement. I don't like calling it exercise because like I say exercise and half you guys go, like, exercise. You know, it's like the dryer buzz. Like you guys like freak out. I'll explain why tomorrow. Teaser. I like calling it intentional movement. Like you're intentionally moving your body how you weren't planning on moving it. You know, doing squats or doing like lunges or something, planks, something that you weren't going to do before. Essential oils that support immunity. Here, newsflash, all of them support immunity. Just to be like, I mean, not to be like overly general, but they all are antioxidants. They all support immunity. Some are higher immune supporters than other. Clove is one of the highest. Clove is in thieves. Thieves is a great supporter. Frankincense, all your citrus oils help your body, help your digestive system to break down some of the different foods and stuff you're getting in that time of the year. Power, one of my favorite all-time blends to support immunity. Swipe it down the spine. Swipe it down your spine. Everyone's doing fine. See, I just made that up. I know. Longevity. There's an oil blend. You've also got the capsules we'll talk about. Exodus 2 is incredible. And then tea tree oil or melaleuca. All of these things are really great. There's others too. I mean, this is not an exhaustive list. But just as basic ones of like, hey, I want to boost up my immunity, doing something all the time that you're constantly working on. Have stuff in the diffuser all the time. The diffuser should never be off around this time of the year. Amen. Okay? If you're not diffusing every single day, you're not doing it enough. Like you need to be making sure that you're getting those oils in your system. Supplements. Tincture Red is my top because there's so many antioxidants in it and because it helps with blood sugar regulation so much. Around this time of the year, one of the biggest issues with you guys and the immunity is that your blood sugar gets so off and it gets so bad because you've had stuff that's not on your normal routine that it like literally tanks your immune system because of this blood sugar and the simple sugars that you're getting in your system. So Tincture Red helps with this a whole lot. Multigreens, you're getting amazing enzymes. You're getting chlorella, which provides great oxygen into the system. You also get melissa oil, and I think there's lemongrass in there. Awesome blend. Life 9, a third of your immune system is in your gut. So we talked about a third of your brain, a third of your nervous system is in your gut. She talked about that in the neurotransmitters this morning. Literally 90% of your serotonin, the actual neurotransmitter you use to choose to be happy, 90% is made in the gut. And so you see these parents, you see these families that eat crap and they get mad at each other for being unhappy. I mean, it really is not like they're feeding them candy, and then when the kid is unhappy and can't control it, and they go, why aren't you being happy? And they're like, I don't know. And they get mad at them and discipline them for it. I'm like, but you fed on the Starburst. Yeah. That makes no sense. Or you gave your husband pizza with all that junk, and then you can't understand why he's snappy. Well, his gut's inflamed. Like his stomach is like totally out of whack. Life 9 helps to replenish the good bacteria. It's also enteric coated, which means it'll deliver the bacteria further along the intestinal tract, so you get more bacteria further, which is good. It's really effective. Longevity and inner defense, these two are powerhouses. This is like Hans and Franz for the immune system, right? Say, I'm Hans, I'm Franz, or where I don't know. And we're here to pump your immune system up. That's what they're there for. I just came up with that too. That was right on the spot. That was legit. I'm totally using that from now on. Right on here. But they are. So those two are amazing. Just make sure when you're helping people use them that they take it with food. Like, I have people, oh my gosh, I took Air Defense on an empty stomach. And I'm like, was this a dare? Did somebody dare you to do this? They're like, no. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? And they're like, it just burns. I'm like, it's really concentrated oils. Like, you got to make sure you got some food, okay? Enzymes, essential zyme 4, detox zyme. Remember, detox zyme and essential zyme 4 are fast acting. Those are the ones like, I'm going to eat something and I want something to help me with it right now. Essential zyme, the regular one, this is long acting. This is rebuilding your overall enzyme supply. It's not necessarily, has part of it is, but the whole supplement is not to break down food in the moment. These two are more for that, okay? And the key to the whole deal is consistency, right? Like, we're in the first part of the year. We're still in the New Year's resolution high, where the gyms are still really busy. And those of you who are, long-term fitness buffs know that you just don't go to the gym this time of the year because you're going to have all of the New Year's resolution people. But never fear, February is near. They're fixing to all give up. Yeah, they're going to be gone soon, and it's going to be a ghost town again, and you can get on any machine you want. And that happens with nutrition, that happens with diet, because people don't want to take the amount of time it takes in order to allow their body to function. Here's what I would totally challenge you on. Since Sarah's throwing out challenges, I'm going to do the same thing. If you're going to do like new changes, you want to like change your breakfast up, or you want to change one meal of the day, do that for 3 months straight. Like, I want you to do it for 2 to 3 months, because even though they always have said over all the course of time that it takes 21 days to start a habit, which is true, it's still not long-term neurological memory yet. Like, meaning, if I do something with you for 21 days and then I leave, you may do it for a little bit, but you could forget a lot easier than if you do it for 62 days. 62 days is the amount of time that Dr. Caroline Leaf has studied that you actually build long-term neurological structures in the brain for that new action or that new habit or that new pattern. So that even if I'm no longer here, or we're not doing it together, or you're not in that challenge group or whatever it is, then you still, it's a part of your lifestyle, it's a part of what's in. That's why, like, these oils, they're not a Band-Aid, they're not a medication, it's a lifestyle opportunity, is what it is. It's a complete lifestyle change. So it's like, hey, instead of a Coke, why don't I try Zing with nitro in it, or Zing with Ningxia mixed in? Because it's way better. It's just a better option. Hey, I used to use like these 15 different chemicals to clean my house. Why don't I try this one to save me money and save my hormonal health? Why not? And do it consistently over time so that you can reap the benefits of that. All right, you guys are awesome. Stay tuned for the rest of the day.